Yeah, Blake and I were talking about Duty Noble Field, and you know the old outfield was good, and I know it's nostalgic and had a lot of tradition there, but the sight lines in the outfield are so much better. And you notice you don't hear anybody complaining. I mean, your rig is better, your grilling area, the bathrooms, the space, you can walk.
General accessibility, yeah.
Yeah, the traffic flow, so to speak, is so much better. And I remember when I said that several years ago, you would have thought, you know, that I called somebody a bad name, but it's strong. It is. It is very, very strong, what they did in the new stadium. And still kind of taking it in, you know, as you bounce around and experience the game from different areas. You know what's crazy is I'm not even sure they built enough, like,
That's correct.
premium space. But I mean, it's a great ballpark, and they did a great job. So
Just need to build another loft section back there to the left, and then one to the right, and then that way you get more seating.
yeah, I actually think they need more rigs, but
Could you
I don't
add?
think they can do a third level. But I'm not an architect, Blake.
That's what I was about to say.
Some listening right now.
Is there a way to add a third level of rigs?
I don't know with the lofts behind it and some other stuff, but maybe it is. Maybe it is.
Maybe you only can add it on the right side. You have to readjust that scoreboard, but maybe you can add it on one side at least. I don't know.
Maybe. Oh, well, it's still a great park. And, you know, it was packed on Saturday. So, good times. Mississippi State swept Kentucky. Ole Miss loses 2 of 3 from Florida, but very competitive series. And didn't get swept. You want to avoid getting swept. Mississippi State couldn't do that the week before against Arkansas. So, one's 7-2, and the other one's 5-4 in the conference. So there you go.
It's going to be a massive battle to the end.
LSU was swept again, back-to-back sweeps for the first time since 2010.
Correct. It's their worst start since I think the 60s or 70s in SEC play. They're 1-8, and Mississippi State's their 1.
Yeah.
And you look back at it, you go, "Wow, maybe wasted an opportunity to have a sweep there."
That's right.
Because LSU has not looked anywhere close to talented.
You know,
Well,
you know they have good players, but would LSU run Maneri? He won it in 2009.
Yep.
So you're looking at about 12 seasons. That's a lifetime down at LSU. I mean, I'm saying that to two fan bases that have, you know, never won it but had a lot of success. Obviously, Mississippi State's lack of a title is gut-wrenching for the fan base.
yes.
Or allowing LSU to win 7 and not winning 1, I guess, is another way to – no, 6. Right?
6.
Yeah, Bertman had 5. Maneri has 1.
They've
I
lost.
think I have that right.
Yeah, Maneri lost in 2017.
Okay.
Was the College World Series runner-up.
To Kevin O'Sullivan?
Yep.
Okay.
Florida's only national title.
That's hard to believe, too.
It is.
But anyway, they'll get another one, though, sooner than later, I think, down there. The way that, I mean, it's sick the way they recruit. Live in the Bank Plus studio, the Out of Bounds Show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone, is brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go to favorites.com. Takes 4 minutes or less. Check it out. Get a quote. Save. Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line is 601-707-3750. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. We're streaming live on the Out of Bounds radio app, and right now you can watch the show on YouTube. Search Out of Bounds Sports. Unbelievable weekend, really, with UCLA Gonzaga was nothing short of amazing. Some of you watched it, some of you didn't. I was absolutely glued to the TV on Saturday night and couldn't get enough of the level of play. I mean, seriously, 47 assists. I mean, do you know how many AAU coaches were watching that game and confused? I mean, they didn't even know what they were watching. I mean, 47 assists on 71 baskets.
58% shooting, both teams. That's elite.
The best since 1985.
Yeah.
That is elite. The basketball IQ on the floor was ridiculous. You could tell they like playing together. They like sharing the ball. They understand space, and they understand what to do when they don't have the basketball.
Yeah.
Which is not the way AAU is built. So there were AAU coaches around the country watching the game, Gonzaga and UCLA Saturday night, and they were confused. They didn't know what they were in their sweatsuits.
Yeah.
Again, most of them are handlers, and in their sweatsuits, and they didn't even like it was foreign to them what they were watching.
I got to say, Johnny Juzang leaving
Kind of worked out.
Kentucky and going to UCLA really worked out for him.
Let's tell our listeners that real quick. All right, so Johnny Juzang was with Calipari in Kentucky.
Correct.
He's from California.
Correct.
He decided to transfer to UCLA. He's had a super year, and he just decided to drop 29. In college basketball, this is like scoring 50 in the NBA. He decided to drop, no, it's like scoring 60. 29 points and 6 boards, and the guy was 12 of 18 from the field.
He scored 20 or more points 4 times in the NCAA tournament.
Is that good?
Yeah, they only played 5 games.
Okay. Well, and he's got a really cool name.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the Modelo guest line and welcome in Steve Robertson, GenesPage.com, the Boneyard Podcast, Nickelback's #1 fan in the Sun Belt. We welcome in Steve Robertson to the Out of Bounds Show on ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Steve, good morning. How are you?
Well, I'm trying to decide if you and I can pull off the sweatsuit look. I'm thinking we can. Matter of fact, I'm going to order a crushed velvet Adidas tracksuit today.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, man, that's great. Yes, please do that and get some pictures and send them to us. Or wear it in studio. That'd be even better. We'll do a hit with Steve in studio, and he's wearing his super fresh velvet Adidas sweatshirt. What color would you go with?
Oh, I think I got to go black, but I am going to think about this. I am really going to think about this. So.
Steve, if you get one, I'll get one, and I'll wear it with you to like a game
good.
or something.
Will you stop running it and trying to get into everything? You already piggyback off everything I do. Now you're trying to get – we're trying to do something here.
Are you going to get one?
Who?
You.
No,
I want you.
Steve's going to do it. I'm not going to rain on his parade.
I want both of you to wear one.
You're trying to already make me up. You're trying to upset me on Monday morning. It's incredible. All right, let's go back to Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
One more thing about that. See, if we could do this, we could be like an early 90s dance troupe. You know what I'm saying? Like those guys that came in the club together.
That'd be cool.
That's what we could do. And we could do the Kid and Play in studio.
Ooh, that would be awesome. We've got enough room. Okay. Maybe we could probably get that sponsored. Let me think about that, and we'll work back from there. We've got some time. Okay, I want to start with football instead of baseball. Everybody and their brother were talking football in the left field lounge when I was there on Saturday. So let's start with this. What was your one big takeaway from Mike Leach's scrimmage on Saturday?
Well, I think the main thing is that neither team dominated. And that's probably a best-case scenario for you is you have some flashes, you have some things you can celebrate, but you also have some things to correct. And I think that's exactly what you want, because if you came out there and you're like, man, the offense threw for 700 yards, you're like, what? Does Zach Arnett leave and not tell anybody? And so I think those are the things you look at is you really want these scrimmages, even when they're controlled and you're trying to put stress on one unit and put them in the red zone or put them in the shadow of their own goalpost, to see both units kind of perform, I think was big. But I do think that pass rush, with guys like Randy Charlton and Cam Young and Jordan Davis, I think that was probably a little bit better than I anticipated.
Okay. So the pass rush was better than you thought it would be.
Yeah, and listen, they blitz a lot, but that was a lot of that just kind of coming out of the base defense, and that's just having some individual wins. Jordan Davis is a guy that's up to 270 pounds now, but he still has that explosive first step. He's got incredibly long arms. Now, to be honest, State doesn't beat LSU if Jordan Davis doesn't have those long arms, because you don't force that underthrow by Miles Brennan that Asai Spurge picks off. But they've moved him now, down to defensive end because, with Kobe Jones, Marquise Spencer moving on, State needs some edge rushers. And so I think the early returns on that move are very, very good.
Who stood out at linebacker on Saturday?
It's like Aaron Brule is constantly doing some good things, and, they've got, I think, Nathaniel Watson will probably hang on to that Mike linebacker spot. He's finally kind of rounding into form and kind of closed the season in really good shape. But, Ty Wheat's a guy that's a freak. He's another guy running around 260 pounds and is still able to run in the 4.5s. He's a guy that can get off blocks and get in the backfield, but he can also get out and cover. And guys his size don't ordinarily move as well as he does. But I had one Bulldog coach tell me that when Aaron Brule decides that you're going to have a bad day of practice on offense, you have a bad day of offense on practice. That he is a guy that can kind of take over the game just because, he is so explosive. And, because of the fact that, he's one of those safeties that grew into an outside backer, he understands coverage a little bit better than some other guys, but he's a guy that's just relentless as a pass rusher. And that's one of the things that you hope to see with this scheme, this 3-3-5 alignment, is you have guys out there that can really make the offense stress, and he's doing some of that.
Steve Robertson, genespage.com on the Modelo guest line talking MSU football. How did Will Rogers look?
Efficient. Just what you'd expect. They hit a couple throws down the field, but, a lot of it was, kind of controlled stuff where you're working those crossing routes, you're checking the ball down, and, just a lot of what you'd expect Will to do. I guess he did have the one interception to Tyra Sweet, but just thought, what you'd expect Will Rogers to be, just smart with the football, does a good job of aiding pressure and getting out there and dumping the ball off to his guys. But, it's one of those things, too. I think really the bigger issue with the quarterback position is who's going to be number 2. And then it looked like it was going to be, Jack Abraham for a long time, but Lovertich got more of the snaps on Saturday when we were there. And so I think that battle is probably a little closer than maybe we thought. I think Lovertich is making this thing awfully interesting. And, he's not the biggest guy. He's a little bit shorter, and with that big, massive offensive line, I wonder sometimes how he would be able to kind of, see over the line. But when he gets flushed and has to get outside the pocket and be an athlete, he's able to do that. And I think it's not just a throw-in type deal where he just kind of shows up and is just hoping to be closer to home. That guy's really competing, and I think he's really pushing hard for that number 2 spot.
Interesting. Can you imagine if Abraham and Lovertich were 6'1", how good they'd be, or 6'2"?
Oh, yeah, man, and that's the reason they went G5 in the first place. It wasn't necessarily because of the fact they didn't know how to play football. It's just that they didn't have Power 5 size, and so they got to go, fit in where they can get in, and that's what they did. Now they're taking a shot, gambling on themselves one more time. But I thought Lovertich did some good things, and I don't know that I expected him to get as many reps as he did, but he did, and he did a pretty good job.
Who else jumped out at you on the offensive side of the football?
Well, you know what Jaden Wally is too. He caught the first touchdown. He did a nice job, and Mekhi Polk is a guy that kind of came in kind of highly heralded, and he's kind of lived up to his billing. One of the things I'll note about that too, and I mentioned this on my own show, is that you go out and you get Randy Charlton. He had 2 sacks on the weekend, and you go out and get Mekhi Polk, who did some really good things, and you get Jalen Green. All 3 of those transfers running second team, all 3 of them. Now, I don't think that's an indictment on their ability. I think that's Mike Leach and the staff saying, listen, we're not going to give you anything just because you were a transfer coming from the program. You got to come in here and earn it. And, I think all 3 of those guys will eventually elevate into first team or certainly be major contributors on the second team. But I thought that was rather interesting that these highly heralded guys that kind of uniformly are running second team as we get closer to halfway to spring practice being over, that they haven't elevated the first team yet. And I don't think that happens until fall camp, but I think that was interesting.
Steve Robertson, 247 Sports, on the Modelo guest line in the Out of Bounds show, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. Let's go to baseball. MSU sweeps Kentucky. What was your one big? They needed a sweep. I think Kentucky's pretty good. They came in 5-1. What was your takeaway on the Kentucky series?
Well, I thought it was a great result for Mississippi State, and I don't know if it's fair to say that State expected to sweep. You hoped you could sweep because Kentucky hasn't really played anybody. And listen, I think they're a scrappy ball club, but they have played the last place team in the West and the last place team in the East, and so they were 5-1 coming in. So I think you wondered, how good these guys are. Can they hit the baseball? And I thought they really competed well. I just didn't think they were probably one hitter away, from really competing. And Thursday, State has the 8-1 win, and you finally get the big timely hit to put somebody away. Cam James with the bases clear and double there that kind of removed all doubt late. And that's one of the things with this team I think's been missing, is that when you have an opportunity to get some real separation late in ball games, they've had to rely more on the bullpen than they have that killer instinct. And so you get that on Thursday, and then you have some chances Friday and Saturday, and you don't do that. And so in order for this team, I think, to really elevate itself into top 8 national seed contention, you're going to have to get more of those timely hits when it's time to put the game away. And State was fortunate this weekend that the bullpen was able to kind of hold that up, because there will come a time when somebody else is going to rally late in the ball game, and you're going to have to match that.
How concerned should MSU baseball fans be on that? I mean, they're not hitting with runners in scoring position. They didn't pull away in Friday and Saturday. The flip side is they won. It's hard to win in the league, right? So I get that. It's hard to sweep in the league. I don't want to beat up on them too bad, but the bottom line is they look like they're into some serious transition in the lineup, both in the field and at the plate, Steve.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that's going to have to kind of grow up on the fly. And I guess the thing that's somewhat frustrating is that, you expect it from some of the younger guys. I mean, many of these guys, Cam James had never played an SEC game until this year. It seems like, they've been there forever. Never even played an SEC game. And so there's an adjustment period there. But you got guys like Josh Hatcher that, have been around and was playing the best baseball of his career last year. And then he's hitting around 200 now. And so Josh has got to elevate things. And there's no doubt about it. You're depending on that guy. You drop him in order because of the fact that he's not producing an RBI opportunities. But, that guy's got to come through. Now, it was good to see Rowdy, get some hits, and it's crazy. You just have a pop fly that drops in somewhere. Next thing you know, you're hitting again. He had a 3-hit ball game over the weekend. So that's encouraging. But, that it's part of it's baseball too. But the good thing is that State has a bullpen that can kind of make those one-run leads hold up later in the ball game. But I'd like to see them be able to finish games offensively a little more regularly.
All right, we've got a question here from some of our listeners. Steve Robertson, 247 Sports, genespage.com, the Boneyard Podcast. Where is the next difference maker? So where's the next five? This may not even be fair, but this team also recruits in the top 10 majority of the time. So where is the next Foscue Westberg type player coming from? Is he on the roster but just too young, or is it somebody they signed in November? Your thoughts?
Well, I really like Kite McDonald a lot. I mean, he's a doubles machine, and I think that he's a guy that could probably get some ABs later in the year. It's like, I guess if in worst case scenario, if you could always find a way to get Hancock in the lineup, maybe he plays first. Who knows? And then Kite McDonald could DH. But every time Kite McDonald's in the ball game, he hits the ball with some authority. I think he is a guy that'll be a big-time player long-term. Really like his makeup a lot. And I think Kellum Clark is going to be a big guy, too. I mean, of course, he gets in and kind of gets behind a little bit. But this is a guy whose makeup is very, very positive. There's a reason the Major League Baseball scouts are really excited about him. And, he's worked some at third. There's a possibility of him working some at first. And that was one of the things that we observed kind of changing gears a little bit, is that Luke Hancock took some in and out at first base this weekend against Kentucky, and that's not something I've ever seen. And usually it's just been Pimentel and Hatcher, but all of a sudden you see Hancock over there. So is there some things happening behind the scenes? Perhaps could Luke Hancock, a guy that's traditionally been a catcher, be an option at first base? I don't know. But I think Chris Lemonis probably recognizes that you got to get your best 9 hitters in the lineup, and Hatcher, I think, is the only one that hadn't sat. Cam James has moved around from short to third, and the Scotty DeBrule has come out of the ball game, and just on Saturday, Tanner Leggett started in his place. And so, outside of TA and Rowdy, Hatcher's the one mainstay in the lineup. And I think competition's good for him. And so that's just something to kind of watch. It's something we picked up on in pregame, that all of a sudden Hancock's out there fielding balls at first.
Let me quote Billy Bean in Moneyball on that. When they were replacing Giambi with Scott Hatteberg, who nobody had ever heard of. Fielding doesn't matter at first base. And so, and I know that's not 100%, but that always jumped out at me both in the book and in the movie. Interesting what you just said right there. Would you rather have more barrel and, juice at the plate, knowing that you may give up, a play or two over 4 weeks at first, maybe not even that. I'd love to see the analytics on that. Interesting. All right, Steve Robertson, genespage.com on the Out of Bounds Show. One more, Steve. Talk about the energy and excitement and the pressure that he puts on defenses that Braylon Skinner brings to the table for Mississippi State.
Well, I mean, it's just like the rally that got State back in the ball game on Friday. I mean, you're down 2-0, and then, yeah, it's crazy to think about this, but the Kentucky starter at the time, Stop, he had walked 4 hitters the entire season, and he walks Braylon Skinner on 4 pitches, and sure enough, it comes back to haunt him. And that, that play at the plate. I mean, number one, I give the Kentucky right fielder a lot of credit for coming up firing, and he almost threw a strike there. That ball's on the plate, Skinner's out.
No doubt.
But what an incredibly athletic play. It's like he's coming down the line, and he's able to adjust to the fact that the catcher has to kind of come in and go to his left to field the ball. So he basically pulls a Euro step, dive, hand plant at the plate. There's not anybody else on the roster, and I could argue probably not many guys in the country that make that play. And so that's the thing. It's on tape now. Everybody in the SEC is going to see that. And it's, hey, when this kid is on base, you better have him out by 10 feet. If not, he's going to find a way to get in there. Now, he's got to do some better jobs when he gets deeper in counts. He does a good job kind of working the count, but when it's a full count pitch, he's swinging. If it's anywhere close, he's swinging. We teach the guys, obviously, if it's too close to take, he is the personification of that. I mean, if it's not in the dirt over his head, he's going to get a hack on it. So he's got to be a little more selective with his pitch selection there. But he is such an incredible athlete and so dynamic out there. Anytime that he is on base, and there is a ball in the gap, you expect him to score from first. I mean, he is just ridiculously fast from first to third. And I just don't know if there's anybody in the conference you look at that could beat him in a foot race.
I got 20 seconds. Fristo's really stepped up. The freshman, third starter. I mean, you can't say enough about what he kind of got thrown into, Steve.
No, and show maturity beyond his years. And he wants to be that guy. And that's a big spot. Either you're going to be saving a series or sweeping a series. So.
Wow. All right, Steve. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Steve Robertson, the Boneyard Podcast, 247 Sports, genespage.com on the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Farm Bureau Insurance. Bundle your auto and home and save right now with your local Farm Bureau Insurance agent. Go to favorites.com. That's favorites.com. Go local. Go with the home team. Farm Bureau Insurance call-in line, 601-707-3750. David Johnson, Rebels 247 at 8:35 this morning. Welcome in. Here we go. Hour number 2 coming up.